start recording. Video looks good. Audio looks good. Okay. So this is the basic structure for an Arduino sketch. Okay, so you need a void setup, and then you need a void loop. Notice the structure. So I got open and closing brackets, and then right after I got open curlies and then closing curlies, then opening curly and closing curly. Okay? So you need to respect that, right? Each of those, they're called functions. Okay? Each of those two functions need to have that. Okay? All right. So the beautiful thing about Arduinos is that you can go and copy paste tons of codes. Right? This is the beauty about, yep. That's just because you're not using your DDS. It can't, it's got to work. I can't help you with that. I have no idea. Okay. So the beautiful thing about Arduino is that we're going to go online and scavenge code, literally. Okay. So the first thing that we should try is to actually I'll go here. So let me just share now my page. Boy, this computer is slow. So now I want to present this page. Come on. No, I'm not. On. I'm just trying to switch my. It's terribly slow. New tab. Okay, so so the first things you'll go right in is you just Google something like, you guys can see my what I'm typing at the top here. You guys can see that, right? Okay. So I'm just going to go online and scavenge. Why can I do that? Scavenge code around, copy paste from anyone. Why can I do that? Am I actually illegal? No, I'm not illegal. And why is that okay? Because Arduino is built open source. Open source, that's what it's for. Everyone can copy each other and create a new piece of code, basically, from parts. It's totally legit. They encourage us to do that. Okay, so I'm going to find a code for Arduino 7-segment display, right? So I just go and find someone's code, okay? Now you could start all of that from scratch. I'm not going to stop anyone, okay? But if you're, oh, I meant display. It's probably the same ones it's going to give. Okay, so there's a lot of examples to pick from, so it doesn't matter. I can use this one. Okay, so let's look at one of them. Oh, boy, you slow. Okay, so that's a 4-digit, so I don't want that. I'm pretty sure that's the one I was using yesterday. It is. Okay, so you guys see what I'm looking at. Okay, so let's just explain quickly the 7-segment. This is how they're wired inside, right? So all the diodes are connecting on the one side. So this is to have wires coming to the 7-segment display. So it's how they're connected inside. Okay, I'm going to find the code. There it is. Okay, so this code, it's totally fine, right? We're going to scavenge that. And the nice thing is that it will tell us how to do it, right? So we're going to scavenge this, but we're going to explain it. Now, this is a pretty, oh no, this is just to rotate all the pins. It's the next one I want to have. So it's this one. Okay, so this is a bit advanced. Okay, but I'll walk you through it. Okay, you guys see what I'm doing, right? As I'm selecting right now. Right? Come on. Okay. Copy, and then I'm going to it's so terribly slow. Oh boy. I'll be with you. I'm just trying to switch now to the Arduino. Window. Sketch. Share. You guys should see now my Arduino. You see it? Should see it now. Well, you should see it now. Is it saying stop sharing? Maybe pin me. You see it? Right? Okay. I know it's terribly slow. Okay. So I'm going to simply control all, get rid of this code because the guy has it all, right? He has the setup and the loop, right? So I'll just use this. Okay, so let's walk through this. Okay, this top part here, it's an array, okay, to define what each number, which segments you turn on. So if you look at number 1, right? So you see number 1 here. If I highlight this one, do you see my highlight? Do you see my highlight right now? You do, right? The yellow, okay. So if you notice here, I got 0, right? So think of number 1, right? So it's just those 2 bars, right? And it's segment B and C, right? On the 7 segment. You guys getting me? Right? And look which 2 of the segments are put as 1. Do you notice? So it's the second and the third, which is B and C. Are we good on this? Okay. And then, so this is a really good approach here. Okay. So what this guy is doing is that he's defining an array. An array is just a logical structure. So it's like a matrix, right? So like a box, right? Columns and rows. Okay. And then for the first one, he's defining which pins are going to turn on for 0. And then for the next one is going to be for number 1. And so on and so forth. Okay. So he's defining all his numbers like that. Okay, so what you need to pay attention at right now is the syntax. Okay, so just look at how it's working. It's okay if you don't understand it all. I remember when I started learning to code, at the beginning there's a lot of shooting in the dark, right? Like you're trying to understand, oh boy, how does this go? This is totally part of it. Okay, so you're trying to get familiar, basically. He's calling a function here to write the numbers, okay, which is going to be at the bottom. Okay, so it's right here. So this is what he'll use to write the numbers on the output pins. Okay, he'll start at pin 2, right? And then he's doing a for loop, right? So you should have an idea now of what a for loop does and how it works by what I've given you. Okay, and essentially he's starting at 0, right? And then he's going to display each of the segments to each of the pins, basically, right? So remember at the beginning we had the array, and then he's going to go from pin digital 2 to 8, and he's going to turn them on or off depending on the number you're asking it to display, right? So this is what the for loop here does, okay? So this is important to understand before we dig in, okay? And then what happens is, sorry, it's not responding. There we go. And then in setup, he's defining pin 2 to 8 as being output. So this is easy enough. In the loop, what he's going to do is he has a for loop here. Okay, he's going to start at 10. Okay, and he's going to write the numbers counter -1, and then he's going to go through this. So it's going to display the numbers in sequence. And then there's a delay there of 3 seconds. So that's a bit long. So I'll get rid of this line here. Okay, so let's leave this alone. And now you guys, I can't show that in the recording, but I'm connecting this right now. Okay, so in class you guys can see it. Okay. So now I'm going to upload this code, and so I use the button upload. You guys see that on the screen right now on your right? So this is going to compile, upload, and then sure. So now it's compiling, and then if you look in class at the lights here on the Arduinos, they're going to start blinking when the code is written. So once the compiling goes to uploading, we should see the red lights here blinking, which means it will receive communication between the computer and the Arduino. So my computer right now is really struggling because it's recording as it's trying to upload and compile. So this is the joy of having not powerful computers. Oh boy. You guys still see my window on? Okay, it's the first time I tried to do that. It's not liking it. Oh, something happened. It's moving, but it's not fast. I should have my other. Just give it a second. Okay, are your circuits done right now? Are you done wiring? So what are you missing? You missing wires? Or are you missing? What are you missing? Well, so D2 to D8, right? Do you have your Chromebook? Do you have your phone? Okay, so just follow what I said, right? So find a pin of the segment, and then your pin A will go to D2, and then pin B to D3, and so on. Oh boy, this is really unacceptable. It's really unacceptable. Okay, so this thing is okay, perfect. So it did work. Okay, so if you look at my Armin, you should be at your seat. Okay, like this is the challenge of I totally get it. Okay, like it does go faster to get help, but we have to stay distance. Okay, so this is what the code does. Okay, so it's going down the numbers and then restarting. Okay, so this is the code I just uploaded from the guy. Okay, so the only challenge is to make sure you have the right pins, right? That right? So if the guy had used pin 0 and 1, that, right, which we're not using, right, because we start at 2. Are you getting me? Right? We're using at D2. We're starting at D2, but say that the code was starting at D0. What would I have had to do? I would have had to change all my numbers for the input, for the outputs, right? I would have had to make the code fit what the wiring for the code was, basically, right? I would have had to make it fit. So the copying pasting business, right, from Code Online, it's a bit like a crutch, but it can lead to issues. Does that make sense? Because the code of someone else is meant to do something else, right? And so if you're lucky, you can get quite quick to your goal, okay? But now we have to, so what's the next part now that we need to do? What's the next part that we need to do to get 3 out of 4? Yes. We need to control the numbers using our pot, right? So how are we going to do that? So now we need a piece of code to read from pin A0. Does that make sense? We need some code to read from A0. So we go on the internet. Okay, so I'll stop sharing. No, this one. Okay, so now we're going to Google. This one's going to be easier. Arduino analog read. Okay, so this is what it's called. So how do I read from an analog input? And so this is actually pretty simple. Okay, so you can go right in the reference. This is where going to the references can help, because it's going to show you the syntax. Okay, so here it is. Okay, you guys should see my screen right now, right? In big. Okay, so analog read. Okay, so this is how it's spelled. Now you need the capital R. You see that? Capital R. If I don't write it with capital R, the compiler, when I'm going to work, it's going to go analog read lowercase r. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, compilers are really dumb. Okay, if you misspell something, forget the curly brackets, forget the parentheses. Like the compiler is going to go like, what the heck? I have no idea what you want me to do. It's a machine. The thing is dumb. Okay, like it doesn't know what you want. You need to respect the way it wants you to write it. Got that? Okay, so it's very important. Whatever coding you do, you need to check for the syntax. Okay, for the spelling. Like sometimes just a comma at the wrong place and your whole code won't work. Doesn't matter how big your code is. It can be a million lines of codes, and if you have a comma at the wrong spot, the whole thing will jam. The whole thing. It won't even start. Because the compiler will go, you have a mistake. I don't know what you want me to do. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, so it's a big deal. Okay, like I really mean that. Okay, so how are we going to use this? Well, it's very simple. You guys should see my example here. Okay, so this is the only thing I need to type, right? Something about, oh, it's this one here, right? So I need to define my analog pin somehow, right? Say that it's A3. And then when I'm going to read a value, I just say value equals the value that I'm getting from the function analog read from that pin. Okay, so it's very straightforward, this one. So let's now go back to my code. Sorry, need to stop sharing this. Stop. I really should have used my other computer. Okay, so now let's go back in our code. Okay, you're looking on, trying to get there. Oh boy, come on. Window, sketch. Okay, so I'll make this big. Is it bigger on your screen because I made it bigger? Is it actually bigger? Is it? It got bigger? Okay. All right. Can you guys clearly see the letters and so on this, or is it really small actually? Can you guys actually read out? Is it possible to read that on your end? Kinda. It's maybe borderline. Okay. So now my challenge, right? Do you guys understand Frankenstein, right? What's the story about Dr. Frankenstein? What's the story? Have you guys read that in English? Or is it this year? Is it in grade 11? I know they used to make it read. You guys know the story or you don't? For Frankenstein. You don't know the story? It's this doctor, crazy scientist, and he wants to make I guess it's like a slave, I haven't read the book myself, but it's something about getting like a sort of a slave. It's like an experiment. And he goes in a graveyard. It's a story. It's not true, right? He goes in a graveyard. He picks up dead people, and then he picks parts, and then he makes this composite thing. Does that make sense? Like the arms of someone, the legs of someone, the head of someone, and then he wires this thing, and then he jolts it with electricity, and then it comes to life, right? Okay, that's Frankenstein, basically. Okay, so in your code, you're basically going to do the same, and this is the beautiful thing about Arduinos, is you become a bit like Dr. Frankenstein. So what that means is you don't have to, but you can use codes from around the internet that are a bit more advanced, right? And then you try to take them and you make them do something else together, a bit like Frankenstein. Does that make sense? That's the picture, okay? So now I need to go in my previous code, and now I need to change the numbers depending on what I read from the pot. Okay, so how am I going to do that? Well, how about in my loop, how about here, I get rid of this because I don't need that anymore, right? I'm on your screen right now, right? So this loop here, for, right, the for loop here, I don't need that anymore. So I'll comment it. So I go /star, and then I stop it by star backslash, right? And so it's commenting all of that. Good to go? But what will I do instead? So what I'll do is the numWrite function. Now this is where your coding skills come in, right? Like if you can read code, it will help you for sure, right? So I go here, I will use numWrite, but now I'm not going to write the counter value and all of that because now I'm not using that. Instead, what I'll do is I will write on my LEDs, my 7 segment, I will read from pin A0, right? So remember the syntax. It was you read from A0. Did you remember? Right? That was the syntax. But now there's a problem. Okay, this is where I find coding gets fun. Okay, is that the value that I'm reading on analog read is from 0 to 1023 in bits. Okay? But I'm trying to read 0 to 5 volts. Do you remember that? I'm trying to read 0 to 5 volts, right? Because it's this here. Right? I'm trying to read 0 to 5 volts, and my slider is going to give me a value between 0 and 5 volts, right? So what's happening is that my 1023 is going to be my 5 volts, and my 0 is going to be my 0 volts. But then I got only 10 numbers, right? Because I start at 0, and I go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 9 that I want to display on my 7 segment. So I need to divide this into 10. Okay, so this is where it might get a bit confusing. So I'm going to take the 1023 and I'm going to divide by 102. Because if I take 1023 and I get rid of 10, right, and I divide that by 102, it's going to drop it. It's going to get my numbers from 0 to 9. Anyway, so that's what I'll do. So I'll take my value from analog read, and I will divide that by 1023. And that's what I'll send to NumWrite. But now there's a problem, is that I want my first set of numbers to be, right, as I'm going to start, I want it to be 0, right? So I'm going to do -1. So if you look, right, so I'm going to divide that number. Okay, so that gets a bit geeky here, but like if you spend time thinking about it, you'll understand. Okay, you just need to reflect on it. That should work as is. So let's give that a shot. Am I on A0, right? So make sure you're reading correctly. So analog read. Oh, it's here. I should put brackets. So brackets are your best friends, guys, in coding. I don't need double here. Let me just confirm. That divided by 1023 minus 1. That looks decent to me. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so that will take forever. How about I stop sharing so that it goes a bit faster? Okay. Let's try to help it. Maybe it'll go faster. We'll see. So right now it's compiling. Yeah, it is faster. Okay, so notice when it's going. Oh, I got a mistake. Oh, I forgot my no. Invalid. What did I do here? So let me show that my screen. Give me 1 sec. This is much slower than I would like, guys. What did I do? Invalid operands of types void and int to binary operator. Am I using the right function? It is analog read. It is analog read. What am I doing? Okay, let's get rid of the -1. Stop sharing so it's faster. Okay, I'll just define a value here. Val equals right. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to go quick. Oh wait, it's because of this here. My apologies. Num right. This is okay. All right, so you see my code. Okay, so you see my so it looks like it worked. Okay, so now I'll take my pot, and as I'm spinning this, so I'm showing just two values, 0 and 1. So that's obviously not working. Why? Why? Oh, because I'm dividing by 1. Of course. I need to divide by 102. Ah, silly. Okay. And then, so sorry. I'll show my code at the end, okay? Okay, so you see the red lights, right? So now it should turn on. Okay, so I have a segment dead here. Okay, so it's working. Okay, so I go 0. I'm on the far right in this case. Then as I'm spinning, see that? It's showing. Why is it showing crazy numbers here? Oh, because it's trying to show 11. 10, sorry. And now it makes no sense. Okay, right. So I had the same issue yesterday, but on the 0. Okay, so I'm going to have to cheat here. That's easy. So we'll do minus, no, plus. We'll add a tiny fraction. So let me share that. It's uploading. Window. Is it done? It's still compiling. Let me just let it finish, because otherwise it'll take forever. Okay, notice the red lights will go on here when it's uploading. So look on my Arduino, it should do it soon. Okay, so right now it's uploading. Do you see the red lights? Did you see the red lights? Okay. So that tells you it's talked with it. Okay, so let's confirm. Okay, so it's still doing it, but I can cheat. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm adding an extra value here. So let's actually go 0.8 now. Okay, so I'm just cheating. Because the 0 is pretty long here. Yeah. So let's just restart that. Okay, so that's basically what it's looking like. Okay, so I'll stop this because this is done now, and we'll let you guys try it, and then I'll upload all of that.